Like to go ahead and call this meeting to order and welcome you all to the Coeur d'Alene School District 271 regular board meeting of March 11th, 2024. Will everyone please rise and together we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Like to go ahead and introduce our participants for this evening. Starting at my far right is Miss Marian Southwick, Clerk of the Board, Dr. Sean Hawker, Superintendent. To my left is Miss Leslie Bierke, Vice Chair, Miss Heather Tenbrink, Board Member, Mr. Jimmy McAndrew, Board Member. I'm Rebecca Smith, Board Chair. Trustee Anderton is unable to be with us this evening. Public comment on district-related items is scheduled near the start of the meeting. Please sign up on the sheet at the back entrance. Comments may also be submitted to the board via email at trustees@cdaschools.org or in writing to the clerk. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, so today's agenda is as presented. We have some recognitions then to get started with, and so Trustee Tenbrink, would you go ahead and start?
All right, so we'll start with Teachers of the Month. These are Teachers of the Month for, I'll let them get them up here. For the month of February, and this was actually kind of a fun one for me because my kids have had several of these teachers. So, so at the high school level, our Teacher of the Month was Shad Frazier. He's an instrumental music teacher at Lake City High School. His principal says, Mr. Frazier insists on hard work and inspires his students to continually excel. Mr. Frazier is admired and respected by his students, parents, and colleagues, and we could not be more proud to honor him. For middle school, our Teacher of the Month was Nola Shanley. She teaches 6th grade social studies at Woodland. Her principal says she brings energy and excitement to the classroom and to her content. She cultivates a culture of learning that engages and motivates students. The kindness and compassion she shows to students and colleagues is inspiring. At the elementary level, we had 2 Teachers of the Month this month. One of them is Leatha Morgan from Fernand STEM Academy. She teaches art there. And her principal said she is a dynamic art teacher. She strives to continuously grow as a professional and improve students' art experiences. She often goes above and beyond, stepping up for her Fernand family whenever possible. And then also for the month of February from an elementary level at Winton Elementary, the Teacher of the Month was Grace Hazelton. She teaches 2nd grade there. Her principal said, when students enter Grace Hazelton's 2nd grade classroom, they are instantly welcomed and accepted as part of a community of learners who are eager to excel and are passionate about learning new things. Grace has a warm demeanor with high expectations for her students, both academically and behaviorally. So congratulations to all of those Teachers of the Month from February. And then, in addition, February was an exciting month for our sports programs and all our students. But for the girls' basketball program, we had the super exciting situation where it was Coeur d'Alene versus Lake City in the championship for state. So congratulations to the Coeur d'Alene High School girls who were the 5A state basketball champions. And then also to the Lake City High School girls who were the 5A state basketball runner-ups. So congratulations to those athletes. Additionally, our boys teams from both CHS and Lake City were able to participate in state basketball. Lake City won the consolation trophy for the 5A division, and CHS was 4th place for the 5A division. So congratulations to all of those athletes as well. And then we also had some academic achievements that we learned about in the month of February. From CHS, we had 2 National Merit Scholarship finalists, Jamison Dale and Isabella Lee. And additionally, we had a couple of U.S. Presidential Scholar nominations as well. And they are Lachlan May and Isabella Lee. So congratulations to those students as well.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is our high school student body reports, and we have a video presentation from Coeur d'Alene High School.
Good evening, esteemed board chair, honorable trustees, Superintendent Hawker, district employees, and valued community members. I'm Andy Jane Howard, Coeur d'Alene High School's ASB president. Joining me tonight is our ASB vice president, Eden Stevens, our ASB spirit leader, Maya Lauder, and our ASB secretary, Jenny Elliott. We're incredibly excited to share with you the successes we had throughout the month of February and our upcoming events through March. Okay. To start off, our band and orchestra has a concert tomorrow, March 5th at 7 p.m. in our school's auditorium. Next weekend, on March 16th, our school is hosting our semi-formal dance, Disco Fever, at 7 p.m. Looking in April, we have our senior prom on April 13th. On April 18th through the 20th, our school has our spring musical, which is Mamma Mia, and our tickets are on sale now.
As springtime is approaching, the juniors have a lot of tests coming up. Juniors will be taking their science ISATs prior to spring break, and when they return, they will be taking their English and math ISATs. They will also be taking the SAT on April 10th, and 9th, 10th, and 12th graders will not be having school that day. The Coeur d'Alene Vikings wrestling team took their state qualifiers to Pocatello in February. We are very proud of their performance and their representation of Viking athletics.
On February 28th through March 2nd, our boys basketball team was in Boise, Idaho for the state championship, placing 4th out of 8th in the state of Idaho. Our girls basketball team was in Boise, Idaho on President's Weekend, placing 1st in the state of Idaho to claim the back-to-back state championship title. Our cheerleading team has been living in and out of Boise State this month, as they have cheered on both of our basketball teams and competed at the state level. Our DECA was in Boise, Idaho from March 26th through March 28th, competing in state. We had over 44 students qualify to compete in Anaheim, California. Our Viking success continues with our mathletes. We were incredibly proud of their performance at our last competition. Our JV team took both 2nd and 4th place, and our varsity team placed 4th. Model UN also headed down to Boise this month to compete. They had a great time, with most of them being new to the process. They really enjoyed their trip. Student Council Regionals are also coming up on Friday, March 8th, and we can't wait to represent Coeur d'Alene High School yet again. Have a great day, and roll Vikes!
Thank you, CHS. And next up, we have K-Tech.
Hidden behind a cluster of trees at Venture Academy, about 10 miles from the main K-Tech building in Rathdrum, you will find the K-Tech Media and Communications Graphics program, created to help students prepare for a career in the communications field. Unlike traditional design classes that focus on teaching computer programs, this class focuses on the design aspect by having students design ads before school even starts. All of the projects the students work on are for real clients, with real deadlines, both for K-Tech and the local community. Along with creating the Coeur d'Alene School Board videos, students in the media program have also worked with other K-Tech programs including Operation Rebuild, Rides for a Reason, and H4. Their latest project including creating a video for the automated manufacturing program to share during the school visits to that program. This involved several on-site visits as well as editing. Along with their longest running client, the Spokane Renaissance Fair, where students create the poster and social media ads for the year. They also do a great deal with Stage Left Theater. Any student wishing to create a design for an upcoming show gets their design along with a short biography printed in the playbill. This is the first year that students are designing the playbills for Lake City High School due to a donation from Horizon Credit Union. Their newest client is Misty Shipman, who is a Pacific Northwest filmmaker. She has recently asked the students to create a variety of t-shirt designs and movie screening posters. She has expressed her excitement in working with the students and excited for future projects. Along with the real experience, the clients also make financial donations to a scholarship fund for students in the program. While it is not goal of the class, several students have won design competitions for their work. For 2 years in a row, a K-Tech student has been one of the top 6 designers selected by Spokane Children's Theater to produce artwork for their upcoming season. Loela Rodriguez designed for last year's Elf. This year, Isaiah Watkins designed for the Lightning Thief landed him the Playbill design for the best Christmas pageant ever. Many of the students who graduate from the K-Tech Media Graphics program go on to full-time jobs, including past student Maxwell Basler, who has won several design awards, including 9 Addy Awards between 2021 and 2023, including Best of Show, Gold, Silver, and Bronze categories. Thanks to the Coeur d'Alene and other area school districts, students are able to continue learning valuable skills and making a positive impact in the community.
What a great partnership. Thank you, K-Tech. And next up, we have Lake City High School student body. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Hawker, esteemed trustees, Ms. Southwick, and other members of the public and district office. My name is Luke Sharon, and I have the pleasure of serving as the student body president of Lake City High School. Lake City has been very busy. Just this last week, our valedictorian salutatorian process concluded. We are so proud of the amazing students who will be recognized during graduation. Firstly, Eleanor Walsh will be our 2023-2024 salutatorian, while Jesse Taylor and Nathan Edmonds, over here, he will be, both of them, they'll be our co-valedictorians for this school year. Starting this week, juniors are also taking their ISATs. Now, I also just wanted to quickly mention that we can't overstate how proud the 4 of us, our administration, and our teachers are of our amazing students. Pretty much weekly, many of our students do something amazing, whether it's at a competition, volunteering, or just at home. Regardless of what it is, Lake City students stand out, and that's why I'm so proud to be a Timberwolf. Now, I'll pass the microphone to Ashley Kearns, our ASB Vice President, to talk a little bit more about the great things our students have been doing.
Thanks, Luke. We've recently had many Lake City students attending state competitions as we wrapped up the winter sports season. We are proud of everyone who attended and represented Lake City at the state level. First, congratulations to the Lake City cheer team. Recently, our cheer team attended both the USA Spirit Nationals held in Anaheim, California, and the Idaho High School state event. They placed well and had a great experience at both. Our wrestling team took several members to compete at state wrestling in Pocatello at the end of February. Maddie Cook ended her senior year with a 6th place finish, Alexis Johnson ended 4th overall, Garrett Leonard took home 3rd at 195, and Sebastian Mossman took home 5th at 220. Both our boys and girls basketball teams attended their respective state tournaments last month and placed very well. We also want to thank Mr. Walters and CHS administrators for allowing Lake City students participate on their Model United Nations team. 2 of our Lake City students who were able to participate won Best Delegate and Honorable Delegate. Now our ASB Treasurer Nathan Edmonds will continue the congratulations for our Lake City activities.
Our boys basketball team was able to close out the win in the consolation bracket at their state tournament. Congrats to Coach Anderson for such a successful first year as the boys varsity head coach. Our girls basketball team was able to get 2nd place overall, just narrowly missing the state championship. Congrats to CHS, but Lake City will be back next year. Overall, they both represented Lake City amazingly well, and we are proud of all of their work. Just yesterday, our debate program made it back to Lake City after competing last weekend in Middleton, Idaho. They competed very well. Our band and choirs have participated in the NIC Jazz Festival, solo and ensemble districts, and Band Fest in the last couple weeks. Towards the beginning of May, several of our band, orchestra, and choir members will compete at the state level in their respective categories. Spring sports are gearing up at Lake City. Practices have begun for the baseball, softball, track, and tennis teams. We're excited to watch their improvement and success in their upcoming competitive seasons. Now to finish up, here's our ASB Secretary, Bradley Gilmore.
Thanks, Nathan. Our DECA program recently went down to Nampa, Idaho to compete in the state DECA conference. 26 of our Lake City students qualified to go to national conference in April, with 8 of our teams placing first in their respective events. Lake City student Cooper Yake was also elected as vice president of marketing for the state of Idaho in DECA. So huge congrats to him. Another conference Lake City attended was the Regional Student Council Conference, where we had the exquisite experience of having our very own board member, Rebecca Smith, as a guest speaker. Throughout the conference, our student council learned many new ideas and ways to improve upon ourselves through our senior panel, breakout rooms, and roundtable discussion. Finally, we are excited for two of our upcoming events. The first one being parent-teacher conferences this Thursday from 4 to 7:30. There, parents will be able to talk to teachers about questions or concerns about their students. And then our play Little Shop of Horrors is premiering this Thursday, which our drama department has been working tirelessly on to produce. And now I'll pass the microphone back to Luke.
Thank you, school board, for letting us present this afternoon, and you'll see us next month on a video. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next on our agenda is our student advisory group, and we have reports, I believe, from high school, middle school, and elementary SAG. Thanks for being here.
Hold it for like 3 seconds on the bottom.
Oh, is it good?
Yeah,
Okay, there we
there
go.
you go.
Good evening, Dr. Hawker, board chair, esteemed trustees, and Miss Southwick. My name is Maddie Gilmore, and I'm the Student Advisory Group Secretary. On February 26th, we had our high school SAG meeting and had a special guest join us to collaborate together with the school district about communication to students. Stephanie Bales, the Director of Communications, joined us to share what her job entails and to work with us and guide us on ideas we have to make student resources more known by our student bodies.
Ms. Bales was very helpful in sharing with us the great task of communicating with all stakeholders of our district, and she admitted that students are the ones that are the hardest to reach. We came to a clear consensus that students do not prefer email. Many students rarely use it, so we had to come up with additional ways to communicate to students all of the opportunities that the district offers them.
We brainstormed several ideas, and Ms. Bales, Superintendent Derrick, and Trustee Anderton guided us with suggestions. We plan to tackle the following. First, we want to talk about a possible Q&A assembly from upperclassmen to freshmen about 3 weeks into the school year to share advice and offerings at each high school building. We also talked about a hard copy and a digital student handbook made by students with frequently asked questions and a QR code for resources. Then we talked about adding a student resource page to our Chromebooks when we open them. We would work in conjunction with Mr. Seth Deniston. And lastly, we talked about once-a-week emails sent to student emails about that week's opportunities. They send them daily, and it's too many emails for students.
Yeah. We also talked about bringing back video announcements. Both schools have stopped them, and the students like them. It seems apparent that we need a homeroom period to play these in, as teachers didn't play them because they were too long, and teachers already had plans for their time. Then we assigned a SAG liaison between our student reps and building principals, so that administrators can hear more directly from us. And lastly, we are considering asking another poll to ask students how they would like to receive their communications, because emails don't seem to be working right now.
Thank you, Rowan. One additional thing to note, we feel that email skills need to be taught somewhere in the district, maybe around 5th grade or so. There currently does not seem to be a technology curriculum with email taught. Thank you for listening to student ideas from the high school representatives. Thank you again to Ms. Bales for guiding us in the complicated task of communication. And now, here are the happenings from our middle school friends.
Good evening, Dr. Hawker, Dr. Hawker, esteemed board members, and Ms. Southwick. I am Liam Cargo, and sadly, Kat Baker is not here to represent with me. And we are part of the middle school SAG, and thank you for allowing us to share what we've done with you. At our last meeting, we got a chance to view suggestions from our SAG suggestion boxes. We got the opportunity to collect as the 3 middle schools on if they are all middle school issues or school specific. We also got the opportunity to share our opinions for the calendar of the next school year through the district survey. We also used our time planning our next meeting. We are planning to invite the athletic directors from the middle school to talk about how athletics in middle school work and how we can help students feel more supported with athletic opportunities. Again, thank you for your time and letting us share what the middle school SAG has done at our February meeting.
Thank you, guys. Now for our elementary branch, represented by Eve. Oh, Finley. I'm sorry.
Hello, Dr. Hawker, Chair Smith, Mrs. Southwick, and board members. My name is Finley Taylor, a 5th grade representative from Sorensen Magnet School, Arts and Humanities. At our last SAG meeting, we had 2 guests, a newspaper writer from the Coeur d'Alene Press named Devin Weeks, and a communication director named Stephanie Bales. They were both so wonderful to join us at our meeting, and we even got an article written about us in the newspaper. We had a lengthy discussion on what we should do for our anonymous survey and what questions to ask all elementary students. We decided it would be a good idea to keep it kind of short, and we will definitely share those questions with you soon for approval. There was also a discussion on how we can get the word out to all of our peers about where the suggestion boxes are and what SAG stands for. We all think that we can do this by being on the morning announcements, maybe handing out flyers, and talking to our peers about SAG. We were also working on a SAG poster. We also had a discussion on the beverage options because a lot of elementary schools don't have water in their cafeteria. A lot of people have made suggestions to get a water fountain in their cafeterias, and we will try to connect with Miss Freeman to explore some ideas. We also ended the meeting after talking about the survey, going through all of the suggestions, eating pizza, and then we had a great idea from Mrs. Weeks to have a SAG-gestion box. Get it? And at our school, maybe get some SAG swag. After all, it was a great and inspiring SAG meeting. Thank you.
Awesome job, Finley. I want to thank all representatives for speaking tonight. Thank you for allowing us to share our work with you. We're happy to take any questions from the board at this time.
Thank you all. Trustees, do we have any questions this evening?
Well, first of all, well done, as always. Are you going to get back to us on the info? You talked about maybe an update on a water fountain, and you talked about the best way to communicate students. Are you going to get back to us once you, I don't know if you already had the survey or not.
Yeah, so we're still working on a survey. We haven't actually sent it out to students yet.
Okay.
And then we're still working with Stephanie Bales about the communication thing, but we just want to tell you guys what we have as of right now.
Great. Thank you. Look forward to hearing more.
Thank you all. We have in our packet a report from Mr. Aaron Hayes regarding the CEA report. I don't know if there's any questions or anything. I don't think so. Thank you, Aaron, for that. Next up, we have public comment, but just to clarify, Mr. Beebe, do you want to present later during the actual time, or you're signed up here? There's a moment a little later where we get to sign up. I just want to clarify in case you wanted.
I thought I decided.
Perfect. I just want to make sure. Didn't want to not give you as much time as possible. So no, it's all good. All right. Dr. Hawker, do you have any superintendent comments for us?
Real brief, nope. More to come, obviously, on our survey that we've sent out to our community. We'll review that in detail on Monday, and that'll get posted onto the website here later this week as well, all those results and everything. And I think at the last count that Stephanie Bell shared with me, we hit like 4,006 responses, so a little over 4,000 responses, which is just phenomenal. That's awesome. So just wanted to give you that. That's the only specific update that I have tonight.
Terrific. Thank you. Dr. Nelson. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. Chair Smith, members of the board, Dr. Harker, can you believe that spring break is a week, almost week and a half, 2 weeks away? It is incredible to think that that is the case. In fact, we are officially 2 months and 26 days, who's counting, till the very end of classes. To be able to think that we are in the month of March and we're getting ready to turn the calendar is really remarkable. Tonight, as we spring forward over the weekend in our strategic plan, we'd like to focus tonight on how we grow lifelong learners, how we make places that are safe, supportive, and collaborative, where cultures bloom, and renew our targeted achievement. And did you see, if you look to your left, you have a brand new bulletin board to be able to take a look at there. We've tried to replicate as best we can, so that will be updated, as well as all of our strategic plan banners throughout all of our district buildings. Special thank you to Executive Assistant Donna Sparron, who helped me put all of that together. So tonight we'll be focusing on those three fletchings along the way. The first is talking about how we build professional learning communities, focusing on domain number 2, safe, supportive, and collaborative cultures. Now, we've talked a lot about a professional learning community, and for those of you who really don't understand quite what that means, it's truly how we do business, how we as adults come together to say, this is how we are going to make decisions. We're going to make them collaboratively. We're going to make sure that people's voices are encouraged, and that we're going to use achievement as our metric and examine all the data and results. We also have another acronym up on the screen, though, and it's MTSS. Now, it's another educational acronym, meaning multi-tiered systems of support. This is how we make sure that we support all students. Every student has something that they need to work on: academics, behaviors, and it's a way for us to be able to say, what are we going to provide a student when they show that sign of need? It's a 3-tiered level, and we'll talk about it. But just to tell you how important this is to us, I'd like to reference the work of researcher John Hattie, who has shown that a strong MTSS system can have an annual yearly impact rate of 1.9 standard deviations, which actually increases achievement by 2 to 3 years. This is a structure that is going to help us to be able to achieve that academic goal that we have at the very end. So as we've dug into both PLCs and MTSS, we found that both of these systems really work symbiotically together. And we'd like to take you to one of our schools where it's really functioning well. My kids all went to Bryan Elementary. And if you go to Bryan Elementary, you will see their motto all over the place: we are lifelong learners. For that really to take place, they have to invest in each student and support their academic and behavioral growth. The quote on the screen reinforces that emphasis: to provide timely, targeted, systematic interventions to all students who demonstrate that need. Under the direction of Principal Kristen Gorange and Assistant Principal Marissa Owen, they've taken this idea and said, how are we going to use these structures to be able to help support? MTSS we view as an umbrella. It is a way for us to put all of these different types of things together. And underneath our umbrella, we have what we call MTSS-A. So imagine a group of teachers and support staff who come together to say, Mike hasn't yet achieved his goal in 3rd grade. Let's talk as a team about what we can do to help Mike achieve that goal. Or sometimes Mike has a bad day, and we need to put the MTSS-B team together, B standing for behavior. This gives us an opportunity to take a look at attentiveness, emotions, creating positive relationships all together. Still under the same ideas as MTSS, but we wanted to highlight how this looks at Bryan. So on the screens you see examples of their MTSS-A and MTSS-B meetings. In front of them is student data. They're constantly looking at a variety of interim and summative, formative types of assessments that tell us how our kids are doing. On the left-hand side of your screen, you see what they have created as a student behavior checklist. Their team designed this to quickly identify and communicate supportive or adverse behaviors and track those improvements. So once a week, they would identify that, gosh, Mike's dysregulating. What's the source of Mike's dysregulation? Let's watch that. And what are the things that we can do to help Mike better cope with those strategies? Teachers use these checklists to identify behaviors that can be improved, and then again, as a team, they meet to support those changes and reinforce what's already doing well. Again, teams, MTSSA, and MTSSB meeting regularly. Now, there's a lot to this slide, but we wanted to kind of give you an idea. So if we take a look at the pyramid, at the bottom of the pyramid are what we call Tier 1 supports. Tier 1 is what every kid at the school gets. So if you look on the left-hand side, we work on universal interventions. We look at curricular interventions. On the right-hand side, you see, gosh, if we're looking at MTSSB as a need, they're going to teach to all students the behavior matrix, zones of regulation, using our sources of strength curricula, the character cards, and reinforcement of what they call their 3 Bs, safe, respectful, and responsible behaviors. If for whatever reason a student is unsuccessful at Tier 1, sometimes we need to do an intervention. We need to take a stand and say, what's going on and what can we do? So we go up a level into Tier 2. And this is where some students are going to be able to get there, and a team is going to come into play. And you can see some of the options that we would look at on the left hand or on the right hand side. We would go through conflict resolution. We would hold a small class meeting. We'd do some small groups. Tokens, sensory breaks, check-ins, check-outs. Only for the smallest group of kids would we focus on that top tier, what we call Tier 3. And again, you can see some of those reinforcements there to the right-hand side. This may broaden the involvement of counselors also, school psychologists, and the implementation of an individualized behavior plan. Altogether, though, it is a systematic way of doing our work. Now, when students are growing both academically and behaviorally, it's also important to take time to reflect and to celebrate. In our district, our work is never going to be complete. This is a community of demand. As an individual professional learning community or as a district community, we have to take the time to reflect on the lives of students impacted by the intentional work of our educators, administrators, and these collaborative teams. Here's another example of one school's focus. Let's take you to Dalton Elementary School. Under the direction of Principal Jody Hiltonbrand and Assistant Principal Thomas Staples, they have focused on celebration. And in fact, this year, they have now started having celebration assemblies 4 times a year. This is something they've never done before, but we're really inspired by high reliability schools, HRS. And in level 1, one of those 8 indicators is how do you celebrate the successes of individual kids and your school community as a whole. Now I'm going to take you through a slideshow that they showed to all students at the assembly just this last month. Now you'll go through and see a lot of things, but I want you to focus on the fact that yes, they're focusing on things like physical aggression. They're showing kids how many incidents of physical aggression they had in a month, and they're watching that. They're taking a look at how they performed on recent assessments, and they're celebrating that throughout their staff. They're looking at how many items were left in the lost and found. They're looking at attendance, but it's done as a whole school community. It's not just somebody saying, this is really important to me. They have come together and said, this is what we want to focus on at Dalton Elementary School. And again, they're now doing this once a quarter, and it's pretty cool. Kids are progress monitoring. They're watching their own academic growth, and they're celebrating as a team in the things that they are doing special. We also want to talk to you a little bit about those schools, the 6 schools that are going through our high reliability schools certification. Again, they are all focused on level 1, which is about safe, supportive, and collaborative cultures, which ties in right into our second goal area. It's the foundation of what our schools do. Without such a culture, student achievement will be compromised, and day-to-day operations are also addressed. Our 6 schools that are pursuing that have also completed a mock certification. They're all on track to achieve level 1 by the end of this academic year. How are they doing it? Well, here's one example from both the works of Sorensen Magnet School of the Arts and Humanities and Venture Academy. The principal, Brett Depew, is on the left, Principal Teresa Kaiser is on the right, and the cog of both is Assistant Principal Brianne Weinberger. She's the one in the middle on the right. Well, she's created an individual Google site for each of the 8 indicators, and you'll be able to see this as I kind of scroll through. They'll be able to change each of those indicators. And both Sorensen and Venture and the other 4 schools that are going through this process are collecting artifacts that say what is working, what types of things can they highlight. And again, the other benefit is, even though we have 6 schools that will be certified this year, we have 11 schools that will be certified next year. And all of those other schools are watching what's going on. And they are now starting to create their own frameworks as well, with the help of Toby Bose from Marzano Resources. According to Principal Brett Depew, this not only calls out leading and lagging indicators, but it's also become a reminder to us for why sustaining a safe, supportive, and collaborative culture is so important to ensuring the learning and growing for students in our school. It aligns very well to our district and Sorensen mission and vision statements, and adds another component of assurance to our community. This is something we hope to hang our hat on when we achieve level 1 status. In terms of our work, for those of you, again, who are here or watching online, you can go to cdaschools.org/strategic plan, or there's a QR code at the top of the banner. There you're going to be able to see our Gantt chart. Now, this month we've added 9 new tasks. We have a total of 60 tasks now up on the Gantt chart. So since last month, again, 9 new tasks, and we're now up to 15 tasks completed. So 15 of the 60 items on our Gantt chart are completed. That's a quarter of all of the tasks. We still have 4 more years on our strategic plan. We will be adding tasks to it along the way. But we do hope that you will take a look at it, as many of our tasks are also due by spring break, such as a revision of our instructional framework that you'll see over there. That's goal 3 behind you, as well as a work to emphasize our collective intervention practices. Again, cdaschools.org/strategic plan. I got through it. What can I answer for you?
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. Any questions?
The MTSS always interests me. So you said they meet weekly. Do they meet on the late start Monday? Do
Correct.
they meet as grade level teams?
Correct.
Once a
So
week?
they're interdisciplinary teams. So
Okay.
not only are you going to be able to see that a student in, let's say, second grade is being focused on for academic work, that means that you'll have the second grade team there that will talk about Mike in that meeting, but you'll also start thinking about, well, what happened in first grade? What might I need to reinforce that he should have learned back in first grade? And what are the things that Mike's going to need to be prepared for in third grade as well? So they're both vertical and horizontal teams, but most of the MTSS teams are interdisciplinary. So you'll see the art, the music, the PE, you'll see our grade level teachers, you'll see administrators all participating as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Bierke.
Thanks. Any additional?
Quick question for you. So how do you measure the success or the lack of success with the MTSSA or B?
Well, the biggest level of success is how you can close those gaps.
Correct.
So whenever you find a student that's referred to, that remember the pyramid piece?
Yeah.
If a student is referred to, say, Tier 2, we've found some things that we need to work on. The greatest sign of success is how you close those gaps.
Sure.
A student should not live in Tier 2 or Tier 3. Ultimately, we should bring it to the point where about 90% of our students by the end of the year are served at that base level. that's the one thing that I could say more than anything.
And you're seeing those results.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Will the schools that are seeking to achieve level 1 status this year, will they roll over and try and seek level 2 then next year? Does one just go right into the next, or?
Sure, Trustee Smith. I think the best answer for you is that we have already leveled the expectation to all of our 17 schools that we would like them all to be level 3 certified by the end of our strategic plan in 2028. Absolutely, I do think that some buildings will automatically start jumping into level 2. Level 2 is all about effective instructional practices, and we have a lot of those components already there. Level 3 is about a guaranteed and viable curriculum. We already have a lot of those levels there, and a lot of those pieces there. And that was one of the reasons that the High Reliability Schools framework was appealing to us, because it really tied together the things that we've seen from the curriculum audit back in 2019 to where we're at today. We have not asked that question of our leaders at this point, but I do think that some buildings are going to be highly encouraged to move in that direction. And I could look over to my shoulder to our leaders of elementary and secondary. Are you aware of anybody who you know is going to be taking that leap right away? Yeah, it's maybe a little early, but we'll get you an update on that soon, Trustee Smith.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nelson.
My pleasure.
All 5 of us attended COSBA just over 2 weeks ago, so the National School Board Association, and we traveled to, where'd we go? We went to Dallas, all 5 of us, and so wanted to take a few minutes just to kind of report back and out, because I know I, for one, and I think the rest of us as well, would say that was well worth the time, energy, money it took to send us. For all of us, it was our first time there, and so one of the things I know I appreciated especially was the PLC sessions that we attended, and to be with other trustees from around the nation. So it was really well done, lots of great information. So I don't know if anyone wants to share maybe a highlight.
My kind of focus, there was all different breakout sessions, but the things that interested me most, especially being a former teacher, is student achievement. So I tended to gravitate to those sessions that was their focus. And my 2 favorite, I love going and seeing what works and is successful in other districts. So I went to one, I would say was my number 1 session, was Toledo Public Schools. And I didn't know anything about them, but they are doing absolutely amazing things. So I look forward to sharing all those ideas, because I don't think anybody joined me on that one. So that was really exciting to see how they're partnering with businesses and just doing amazing things for kids. And then I also saw, I think it was a junior high school situation from Savannah, Georgia, and how they have taken pretty struggling students, 90% free and reduced student population, and just done amazing things with their kids. So that was really my focus, and I really enjoyed learning. And yeah, I do think the conference overall was a really great opportunity for us to go as a team, but also to share what we learned with each other. So thank you for sending us.
Yeah.
So it was a great conference. I think we all learned a lot. Some things that stood out to me, I attended a couple workshops on PLCs. This is a process we're doing in our district, right? So, and one of them I really liked. It was kind of focused on how can a board support PLCs and oversee the PLC process. So that one was really interesting, and a few of us attended that one and got some ideas that we'll be sharing with our administration. And then another workshop that I really enjoyed, well, a couple workshops. I saw a couple examples of how other districts are communicating achievement data and financial data, and just some of them facility data to their communities. And so it was really interesting to see how some other districts in our community, our country, around the country, are communicating with their community, and get some brainstorming ideas to see what we can improve. So.
I will echo PLC. I went in probably being just a novice with PLC, and I think I walked out really really encouraged by PLC, being able to see some districts and superintendents that have been in the PLC world for a long time. They were all made believers out of most of us. That was exciting. I think my fellow trustees are fully aware how deathly afraid of AI that I am. And I think I walked away understanding that, there's ways for us to embrace it, and it'll make a difference whether we like it or not. So I'm deathly afraid, but I'm open to it. And there was some good spirit of, fearless schools and fearless leadership and trust, resilience, and focus. And I know there are a lot of buzzwords out there, but there's just some great data. But I think it was well worth the time, energy, and effort. And I thank you. And there's enough acronyms to kill you in the world of public education. I wrap my head around a lot of them, and I feel good about it going forward. So thank you. We go back in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Terrific. So we did just want to take a moment just to thank our community for that investment, and really appreciate that. So thanks. All right. Consent agenda then for this evening. There is a whole lot of things on tonight's consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone needs clarification on at this point or further discussion?
I just have a couple things on the consent agenda. I just wanted to kind of give praise in looking at all of the RFPs out there. Great work. Just wanted to, take note, and, fencing proposal, we trimmed that down by 25% to make sure that it was in line with our budget, and grants are going to cover 98% of those costs. Website design, mobile app, all of that's going to save the district. It all adds up on what we're saving. Roofing, I noticed you got creative and trimmed that down by 35%. And then the tips, this is all public record, but just, leveraging things to cut costs there. So kudos to everybody for being fiscally conservative in that manner. So it was great to read through.
Thanks. Any other further questions or anything on consent?
I would make a motion to approve of the consent agenda as presented.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, consent passes. We have some items there for monthly additional information on our financials, discipline. There is just a new updated form for student conduct on buses. And now, any
I'm
questions
sorry.
on any of that? Sorry.
It's just the form has changed, but the policy has not changed. Yes.
All right. So we are on to the Coeur d'Alene High School auditorium improvements, and I'd like to welcome up Mr. Rick Rasmussen in order to propose some updates to the CHS auditorium.
Glasses out here. Yep. So, Superintendent Hawker, Board, thanks for letting me speak today. I'm speaking on behalf of Coeur d'Alene High School Booster Club and Education Foundation. We were started in 1972 by my dad and some fellow folks in the community. We just went over the $5 million mark given back to Coeur d'Alene High School, so we just hit that last year. Nobody's paid, everything 100% volunteers. We currently have a board of like 26, 27 people. We held an auction last Saturday night. Appreciate those that attended. Raised $128,000, all going back to the kids. So we are a needs, not a wants type of a board. What I'm here today is asking for two things from the Viking Booster Club and Education Foundation. Being a proud graduate from Coeur d'Alene High School, Coeur d'Alene School District. My daughters went there. My wife went there. My dad taught there 35 years. My brother's there now, and there's been a Rasmussen at Coeur d'Alene High School ever since it opened up 1970. So there's a lot of history there. But we have a history of the Booster Club of following through on what we asked for. When we came through you, everything we've ever brought up, we've been able to finish. The Field of Dreams, we signed an agreement. We finished it on time, on budget, did not cost the school district anything. The Schreiber practice facility, we finished it on time, on budget, without any money from the district. And so we're asking today to help the auditorium. So we've met with the drama teacher, Mr. Helm, the choir, the band, everybody that uses that. And we're looking today for permission to try to help grade the auditorium. The dollars, we're working on it. We've hired, we're paying for it out of Booster Club, Standcraft Construction. We walked the item the other day, and we're looking for approval that we can upgrade. And there's a list of the items on here. Everything, I live in the world of 10X, 5X, 1X items. 10X, we got to get done. 5X, we'd like to get done. 1X, we will, get to it when we can. We've met with the folks last week, all the players and everybody working out there. We'd like to, I also worked, I was the head of the Fernand Playground for All. I raised $200,000 there, and we put that playground in. So we will finish this. It may just take us some time, but there are some wins and things we can do. So we're asking permission today to go ahead and go forward with those items on our auditorium project. We have a contractor. We'll sign contracts. It won't cost the school district again. And again, we'll finish, on time and on budget. Any questions on that first item?
So am I understanding that, you'll kind of start at the top? We have this list of priorities. You'll start at the top and work down as money is raised. Is that
money is raised? Yes, correct. Unless there's things in the other areas, the 5X, like if during the summer, if it's better to paint the auditorium, the floor, we might do it then. We will not interrupt. Just like we finished the field before the first day of PE. The number one user of the Field for Dreams is the PE classes. It's not football, it's not soccer, it's not lacrosse. It is PE. Is able to be out there every day, and that's what it's for all the kids at Coeur d'Alene. The same thing here. So we would, if there are things we have to do during the summer, we would want to do those. So there could be some of those that we would do then. The projectors, if we get them donated, we may get those up earlier, some things like that. But the priorities are the 10X items would be our first things we'd like to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions on that?
Any questions? Well, before maybe we have a motion, thank you first and foremost for all that you do at CHS, but throughout the community and what exciting projects on behalf of our kids. So thank you.
It's such a no-brainer, when you go out and hearing what you guys have to go through and the way they change their funding and all that. Don't envy your positions, but if we can help with those other, there are 26 sports and activities that we help sponsor here. And you're going to see some badges we're putting up in the gym that show all the placings. But my dad was a big believer. He started at Coeur d'Alene, he finished at Lake City, was an active kid's a better kid. Just hearing here, brought tears to my eyes, having the kids come and be a part of that and having listened to I used to come to these meetings. I was the student body president many years ago, and it was me, and there was nobody in this room. It was me and the 5 board members and the secretary. That was it. There was nobody here. And to see the involvement of these kids and see how interested, it's pretty awesome what you guys are doing. So we just want to be there to help out, and every kid should have an opportunity to have the best facilities. Just like the next group coming up there, we got to support our facility because you guys don't have the money, and the state's not going to change their funding. So it's going to take individuals like the folks in the room to be able to do that. So hopefully we are partners. And just like you met with, I heard you meet with business partners. That's what it needs to be. Because the housing, I'm working with a lot of stuff. In my other hat, we're trying to find housing for teachers. The Cortair and then the housing out on Britain out in Post Falls. There are going to be 26 homes that are for first responders, teachers, and healthcare workers. Same thing with Cortair. It's going to be 280 doorknobs in that place. Out in Adams property, there are going to be 800 first responder teachers and healthcare. We can't wait for the state. We can't wait for, the federal government to come in and fix it. We got to do it through businesses and local community members, and that's my goal here.
Thank you.
Thanks for being such an advocate for us out there, Rick. I would be
my
honored if I may move to approve and accept a donation from CHS Booster Club for the CHS auditorium improvements through Resolution 24-04 as presented.
A second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you very much. Thank you. So this next one's a little emotional for me, so I hope that I go through it. So our Booster Club and our foundation would like to there's people in this district and people in this town that have always gone above and beyond for kids. You know, they're legends. You know, you go out there and you see fields named after them. Larry Schwenke Field for the softball field, Ted Page baseball field. You know, there are people that are just such mentors. You know, I had this gentleman back in 1979, 1980, when I was a freshman. I was in his math class. And today we're asking to recognize a legend. We need to recognize the best and the best that we've had in our community. And we'd like to recognize Steve Casey. He was a principal. He first started out at Lakes Junior High. I had him for a math teacher back in 1980. I won a state math championship. I won a football championship and a math championship. He's a great teacher. He then went out to Lakeland from 81 to 85. 85 to 89, he came back to Lakes. He was the vice principal there, student council advisor. 1989 to 93, he molded so many kids. He was the assistant principal. He designed and introduced the Renaissance program that really helped raise the academics at Coeur d'Alene High School. He developed a school-wide crisis management plan. I mean, just forward thinking. This gentleman, it's all about kids. You meet Steve Casey, you know it's about kids. He does not like the Red Sea. We have fights over that, but other than that, he's a great, great man, and he has changed. But when he came the principal at Coeur d'Alene High School in 1993 to 2006, and you think about the 1,000, that was right during the split, and there's so many kids and double shifting and so many things. He was a man among men, and what he did and the people that he molded is just second to none. He again kept as principal, he was the Renaissance man. He started the dual credit program. He ran it afterwards. He started student forums. He got people back in there. He was voted principal of the year in the state. I mean, just a man. You can't, there's second to none. And these people like that need to be recognized. We need the young kids to understand who are our leaders in our community and who are our educators. He believed in students. He believed that they should have a say in their experience in high school and their experience in junior high, and he gave them the platform, the ideas, the thought processes. He took their feedback to heart, just like you're doing with SAG, and then you listen into it. And he listened with his eyes and his ears. When you talked to him, you knew he was listening. He wasn't on, up there not paying attention. He was there for you. It's all about, he believed in building relationships. You meet the man for 5 minutes and you know that he's a great man and he's there for the kids. His heart was there for the right reason. It's not, for the paycheck or June, July, August. He was there for the kids and he's there to make the difference. He was very visible, approachable. He was at our auction the other night. I mean, he's still out there. He's helping everything. He was every day there for the kids, greeting them in the hallway, greeting them out in the commons. And I was thinking, we were talking with his daughter, so vice principal, Tara Casey Nelson, out at Woodland. We were talking about how can we honor a guy like that? Because, it's one thing to have a gym or another one to have a court or something like that. Or, someday it's going to be Amos Field out of court. I mean, there's just things, but how do you recognize a principal? How do you go about it? And we came up with the idea of Casey's Commons. There's always been a commons at Coeur d'Alene. It used to be the pits, but it's a common area that every day, every kid walks through there. So our goal was call it Casey's Commons, get a big name up there. We're going to get a plaque up there so people can see and read about him and understand just what a molder of kids and a motivational and how this legend can be recognized here. So we'd love it if we could get a permission to be able to rename the Commons. I know it takes a lot, but this is well worth it. This man is so deserving. And, we don't bring very many of these up in front of you and ask you to rename something. But for this man, we need to do this. So hopefully you'll take it under consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. There is a...
Thank you. That was a really nice presentation. Mr. Casey sounds awesome. With that, then I will move to approve naming the CHS Commons Casey's Commons as presented.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next up, Lake City High School Stadium improvements.
All right, good evening, Dr. Hawker and trustees. My name is Ben Widmeyer, a former student athlete and 2005 graduate of Lake City High School. We are here tonight to ask for your permission to accept some donations and future donations for a facilities improvement at Lake City. As Rick had mentioned, Coeur d'Alene's done some wonderful things over there, and I think it's our time at Lake City to start something similar and give back to Lake City High School just as they had done to Coeur d'Alene. So we're here to present a 100% privately fundraised 3-phase outdoor facility upgrade at Lake City High School. Kicked off, and again, thank you for the naming rights of the field after Coach Troxel. That kind of jump-started and kick-started this, so well-deserved there, and I appreciate that, so thank you. So we have some slides here to kind of go over what our 3 phases are, or what we're proposing here. So the first phase is a new scoreboard. It's honoring Coach Troxel with an archway and some signage. We're going to propose a donor wall and a new entrance to the football stadium there, projecting to start that this summer after graduation with the hopes of being ready for next year's football season. And then phase 2, proposing a new field turf for the football stadium out there, along with a new track, projecting to start that end of this year. And then the next slide here, we kind of have some information on that. So we're working with ESI Construction out of Boise, and they've proposed a construction budget for the field turf of $2 million. Then our next slide will kind of go over what they're proposing. One more back. So they did the Bishop Kelly High School turf replacement, and they have the specs there of kind of what they're proposing. They've proposed a December 24 to July 25 build date. Next slide. And then phase 3 is potential new locker rooms, an alumni pavilion with a Hall of Fame. As Lake City has gone from the new school to now being over 30 years old, we feel it's kind of time to start some traditions and start honoring some people and create that culture. And so some sort of Hall of Fame thing out there for athletics, and then some press box upgrades. So we've costed out the 3 phases. So the first phase at $360,000, negotiating with ICCU and Daktronics for the scoreboard, and then leveraging alumni donations and in-kind construction for the archway and some of the improvements to honor Coach Troxel. Phase 2 is $2.3 million for the track and the field turf, funded through business donations and in-kind contributions. We'll note that phase 1 and phase 2 are partially funded at this moment. And then phase 3 at $650,000 with similar sources, and we have not started that campaign raising funds for that yet. And then our last slide just kind of listed some benefits. I think we've probably all seen what the benefits of Coeur d'Alene having the turf is, but the scoreboard will offer fundraising for all programs. They can sell ads on that video board to be presented during games. Curriculum, advantage for PE, audio-visual stuff that the schools can do, and then community usage with junior tackle, lacrosse, soccer, and track clubs to utilize that. And then scheduling and field performance, no longer having to rip up baseball fields, having more space for scheduling practices and stuff like that. And then one thing that ESI had found in their kind of work with this is 5 times more use by student athletes as opposed to a typical just grass field. So more student athletes and more students using those facilities. And then that's it. And then Josh had some stuff, and then questions.
Good evening, Dr. Hawker and school board members. My name is Josh Beebe. I am a 1993 graduate of Coeur d'Alene High School, and since 1998, I have had the privilege of being a Booster Club member and a supporter of everything that goes on at Lake City High School. Before I talk about this stadium improvements, I just want to say thank you again for the naming of Van Troxel. Rick did a great job. When he talked about Mr. Casey. Mr. Casey was my vice principal in high school and great friends with his son. And you look in this community of people that mold not just athletes, but students. And Van Troxel, like Steve Casey, is definitely one of those. And so thank you for giving us that right and that opportunity. That was very kind. You know, Ben hit the nail on the head. This is not about a football improvement. This is not about improvement for Lake City High School. This is about improvement for every kid that goes through this school district, from elementary kids to middle school kids, whether they play soccer, lacrosse, or football. And to do this after 30 years, you know, we've had 30 years of kids going through a school. We've had 30 years of great success stories. We've had 30 years of growth, and it's time to put back in the school. So I appreciate your guys' consideration for this. If you guys have any questions, please fire away. And sorry for erroneously putting my name on the public comment section.
I have a question. I notice you've created an entity called Peak Pursuits Corporation. How is this related to the Booster Club in some way, or entirely separate?
So that started, and that's an entity to be formed to kind of jumpstart off the foundation of what Coeur d'Alene has done. So there currently nothing exists for Lake City as far as a foundation or a way to raise funds. So that entity will be started for that purpose.
So this would be a foundation for Lake City High School.
Correct.
But I assume you'll work with Booster Club.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
I want to point out that was pretty slick that you had the scoreboard with Lake City up 21-14 over Coeur d'Alene. I saw you had that in there. Yeah, Rick saw that. I thought Rick was going to come over like a bear and get you. So just walk us kind of through the funding and everything and the phases, and is it pay as we go, or what's the?
So the phase one is being negotiated, and
Okay.
that's well on its way. And phase two, once we get approval with this, we already have some businesses that have committed, or at least tentatively committed to that. And so the work would start, if accepted, on phase two to start doing in-kind contribution. I know that that's a huge part of this is working with those businesses that can contribute and offer their services and labor and materials. So once approved, phase two, we kind of start on that with the goal of hopefully being able to start it in December.
So you got a lot of experience in construction management, so we've got that going for us. But from our perspective on a project of this size, what should we be concerned about?
Well, this is, like I said, it'll be 100% privately fundraised, so there won't be district funds to build these things. And then we won't obviously proceed unless we have the funding in place. So, like I said, phase one is well on its way, and then phase two, we wouldn't commit to starting until the funds were raised.
Okay. Cool. Love it. These are exciting things on our docket. So thank you for your
it looks amazing.
talents, treasures, and
On at least phase one, I assume possible start date this summer.
Correct,
So
after graduation.
while there's no students. Oh, you did say that. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. Thanks.
Well, I think this is super awesome. I would love to see these upgrades happen at Lake City. So I move to approve and accept a donation from Peak Pursuits Corporation for improvements to the Lake City High School Stadium through Resolution 2405.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Congrats. Thank you.
Thank you all in the back for just all of your support.
Come back all the time.
All the time. Come back. It's all the good stuff. So thank you all. We're going to go on then to our first reading for policy 3545 on student interviews and interrogation. So we're going into the next stuff.
Now we're getting ready for a little work. So
Here we go.
let's invite Thomas Gandy up to review policy 3545 and just make sure. I'm sure you've had a chance to glance at it, but if there's any questions or anything, Thomas will be definitely available. This policy is a update to an existing policy to better align us with current law and legislation, especially that's focused on parents' rights. So feel free to ask away or whatever you'd like.
Hi, welcome.
Hi.
Good to have you here.
Thanks.
I guess the only question I had about this policy, I did ask Dr. Hawker right at the beginning because I did want to understand a little bit more about when interrogations happen with our students and whether or not parents, timing-wise, it doesn't seem like they can always be notified before that happens.
Sure.
For safety reasons. Am I correct in understanding that? I mean,
So-
it depends on the situation, I would guess.
Right. So there's a situation where safety trumps everything,
Mhm.
right? And so in circumstances where there's an exigency, law enforcement and school administration, my office, the superintendent's office, management, district staff, they're all going to work together to determine what the best course of action is. But obviously there are some instances where you need a course of action and you have not, or up to that point, been unable to reach a parent. However, the state law is such, and there's some changes to state law that have basically led us to go on with some clarification about parental notification, when it's made, in what context it's made. Plus, it also helps us to delineate interviews that are school interviews versus interviews that are law enforcement interviews, which they may happen simultaneously, they may happen in conjunction with one another, but they need to be separate entities and bifurcated. And this rewriting of this policy helps to clarify, to make sure we're in compliance with state law, and also to your point, when we can kind of usurp that for safety reasons, and then also the difference between the law enforcement side and the school discipline side.
Terrific. Thank you. That really helps me to begin to understand that. We do a lot with parental notification, and we really work for that. But in this situation, understanding safety trumps all.
Right.
So thank you. Trustees, any additional questions or comments on this?
I guess my only comment is the title. The title I have here is student questioning and arrests, and I'm not sure that's actually. Well, I
That's
don't know.
a good point,
We talk
'cause up
about
above
arrests
it
in this
says-
policy. Yeah, maybe student questioning an interview or something.
Because I see both here in our packet. One is student interviews and interrogations, and then one is student questioning and arrests.
Yeah.
So I believe policy
Oh,
3545 may be, and I don't have it in front of me to look at what you're looking at, but it could be a title change, just based on the word interrogation has a lot of connotations with it, and so that word is being removed from the policy to clearly reflect what we are doing, which is interviews,
Right.
law enforcement or interviews. So the student questioning and arrests by law enforcement is reflective of what a new title would be, as opposed to the old, which uses the term interrogation, which is not, like I said, it's not indicative of what's being done at the school. It's not an interrogation. It's either a non-custodial or custodial interview, depending on the circumstances.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe student questioning and interview, or law enforcement interview, or something. I don't know. I don't.
A more clarifying
Yeah.
title. Sure.
Yeah. But other than that, I think it looks really good. Thank you for your work here.
All right.
Trustee Smith, just to clarify that, we'll work on a title change, and then as standard procedure, if approved by the board as first reading, we'll send this out for public input for the next month or so until the next board meeting, and then at that time we could update that title for you.
Sure. Okay.
Thanks. All right. There is a motion there.
So I move to accept revisions to policy 3545 and advance it to the public comment period.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move that to the public comment period. Thank you so much. Policy 4600, which is on volunteer assistance. Dr. Hucker, is there any comments on this?
No, you can just see the recommended updates to 4600 compared to our current policy. Our HR director, Eric Davis, is attending another event tonight. But yeah, if you have any questions, I guess, yeah, let me know. I'm sure we'll answer those. Our intent is to put that question out also. Well, I'll just say that for all of these so I don't have to repeat, to put all those first reading items out and receive public comment.
Thank you. Trustees, any concerns, further questions about this policy? All right, hearing none, there is a recommended motion there.
I move to accept the revisions to policy 4600, volunteer assistance, and advance it to the public comment period.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we'll move policy 4600 to public comment. All right, the next, there's four new courses there. Welcome, Katie.
Yes, good evening, trustees. Dr. Hawker, Clerk Southwick. Tonight we have 4 new courses that we're bringing before you in the hopes that you might be wishing to put them out for public comment for until the next board meeting, and then we'll have in the next grouping the 4 courses that you already put back out. In these courses for tonight, the new ones, we have U.S. History through the Lens 1 and 2. It's intended to supplement the U.S. History courses that students will be taking so that they'll be receiving U.S. history instruction through their regular content class, but also get the opportunity to go more in depth and explore U.S. history through film. And then 3 AP courses, AP Pre-Calculus, Psychology, and AP Seminar, which would be intended to, in a student's schedule, replace English 10. So a student who chooses to take AP Seminar would not then take English 10.
Or would you say that the AP Seminar class teaches the same concepts that English 10?
It encompasses the standards that are taught in English 10. The content in terms of perhaps the selections that they read, the writing that they do might not be exactly the same, but it does encompass the standards.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and this was a question, I know it was on our question and answer, but can you just walk us through, we have these new courses, walk us through the procedure for
how they come to be?
Yes, how they come to be and how they get offered and make sure there's demand and things like that.
Absolutely. So, with the exception of last year, we extended last year's timeline quite a lot into the summer. So I'm going to set that aside, if that's all right. But with the exception of last year, we typically like to have all course proposals in somewhere between winter and early spring. And the purpose of that is to make sure that we can include them in our registration and scheduling to make sure that we understand what the demand is. So once the board approves these courses, then they are included in Zello and our course and curriculum masters. And as students register, they can sign up for these courses. Once we know that we have enough interest to justify having a course, then that course comes into being. So a teacher might suggest this course, or an administrator who's interested in shoring up a certain area or sees that there's going to be interest. There could be a number of different reasons for why a course is proposed. It could be to offer a CTE pathway. It could be college and career demand. It could be to add more rigor into a schedule. It could be a number of different reasons for why you would want to propose a course. So we bring it before you. They write the course. We bring it before you. The public gets an opportunity to comment. Once it's approved, we put it into the schedule. We see if there's demand for it. Once you approve it, either high school, any three of our high schools can offer that course. And so they might choose to bring it in, and then there's less demand for it the following year, and so they might phase it out and bring in different courses. Does that answer your question?
So approving a new course doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be available at any particular high school.
That's correct.
Okay.
Hi, Katie.
Hi.
So I asked a lot of questions about this. So one of my concerns is that although I really like the proposal for AP seminar, there is a cost that I don't really like. But my question is, since some of these do have a cost associated, at what point would you know that you had enough kids in order to then have to spend the money, which at this point probably isn't a good idea, seeing that we're looking at some other big cuts. But anyways, I would like to know that timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. That's why we like to get them approved earlier on, so that once we open up the registration process, we can know.
So when is that registration process? In the summer?
No, it begins shortly. It begins around March, end of March, into April.
Okay, so then there would be time if you have the demand and if we decide that we want to spend the money on that.
So if it, let's just say that you were to approve it and decided that there's the demand and we want to spend the money on it, we likely wouldn't purchase any of the books or order any of the books until July 1. Okay. And then we would get them in and make sure that they're available before school begins.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. That helps clarify the timeline some.
Absolutely.
And so even though this is for CHS, Lake City, would they need to bring back, if they were to add other additional AP courses like this one, would they need to bring that back? Or because it's now in our catalog of Coeur d'Alene?
Once you approve it, any high school may use it. And so I reached out to Lake City. So CHS proposed it, but I reached out to Lake City and asked them, are these courses that you might also want? And they said that they're definitely interested. So they are courses that Lake City might choose to put in their schedule for next year, even depending on interest. I know that Lake City has been focusing a lot on dual credit, and that's been a lot of where their attention and focus has been for kids who are wanting that extra challenge.
Oh, and we just absorb those costs then the one time, regardless. Correct.
So typically, it depends on how much demand there is. So the cost of it really is the cost of a textbook. And so if it's, for example, and we would need to purchase an AP psychology textbook if we were to offer AP Psych. And so if both schools wanted then to offer AP Psych, we would need to ensure that we have at least a class set for each building. If both buildings wanted to offer it, if it's just Coeur d'Alene High School, then it would just be at Coeur d'Alene High School. And so we would typically just purchase those books one time, and then it would kind of go into the text cycle rotation as they get used.
I see that on the hard costs. I guess I was more speaking to the seminar training that's listed there.
That one has an additional
$1,075.
Yeah, for the training.
So that would just be absorbed.
That's for the
one
teacher?
time, though, right?
Correct. Okay. Yes, that's for the teacher. The teacher needs to
Is that per teacher, or could that be for multiple teachers? That might be something to look at as
it's
well.
Per teacher.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
That's too bad.
What AP has a slightly different standard, so you have to go through a course audit to ensure that what is being taught is in alignment with AP standards.
Didn't see that cost on some of the other, like the APs. Was it psychology, and was that on there? I didn't see that listed.
It might not have been listed because they might have
Already gone through that audit.
They could have gone through that, or it could be that they're planning on using building PD funds. I'm not
Okay,
sure.
because the only one, that's why it caught my eye, was the AP seminar class. It wasn't listed on any of the other AP proposals.
I move to accept the 4 new course proposals and advance them to the public review process.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
All right. We've got second readings then on a few policies here, and first one is policy 3500, and which is the student health and physical screenings. This has been brought to as a revision for ISBA, and there's a couple of public comments there, and Leanne gave us some response to that public comment. So discussions, or Dr. Hawker, is there anything you'd like to present here on this?
Well, I think we'll certainly stand for questions. Leanne's here if you have any specific questions on that policy 3500. It is an update that we brought to you and put it out in January, and then we're not ready to present it at your February board meeting, so it's been out for even longer. Listening to those comments, you can see most of the comments that we did receive. I think they just had to do with more of a confusion of us crossing out a line of scoliosis and didn't understand we didn't ever do those in the first place. So that has been rectified, and I think I'll leave all the great medical questioning for you to ask Leanne.
And Leanne, thank you for the book recommendation on scoliosis. That was super interesting.
So just to clarify, we haven't done scoliosis screenings for how long? A long time. I remember getting those. I think my kids got them too when they were in school. How long has it been since we've done those?
I knew a month ago.
Oh, that's okay. But it's been a while.
I think it's been
a
about
long
7
time.
years since we offer them in our school district.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that was the only confusion. Was that was all.
And like
clarified.
Dr. Hawker said, it wasn't in our initial policy. It's the new template that we used. And so the reason it was crossed out in that template was because it wasn't something we wanted to include in the first place.
And I see we've added an annual notification to parents about the services.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah, one of the comments was using the student handbook as means of notifying parents. So there is actual notification that goes out to them as opposed to just living in the student handbook. Is that correct then? Okay.
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. Yeah. I like it. I think it's in great spirit of what we're trying to do. So
Terrific. Any further comments or adjustments? If not, there is a recommended motion there.
I move to accept policy 3500, student health physical screenings examinations, as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you. Thanks for your work on that, Leanne. All right, Katie, welcome back. There's 4 new courses there.
So, trustees, we put out the 4 courses that we discussed in February out for public comment. I applaud the single student who did choose to comment on both of on 2 courses, Sociology 2 and Introduction to Favor. Of those courses, they are cost neutral in that. Thank you. Sorry about that. They are cost neutral in that either we already own the texts or the text that they intend to use will be free. So it's with that information that I come back before you this evening and propose that perhaps we, if it's the board's will, that these 4 courses be approved.
Great. Any further questions or?
Just to refresh my memory, so the applied general science class would be a science class primarily for remedial
Students
use?
who have an individualized education plan.
For IEPs, okay. The history of Idaho and Pacific Northwest is a 1 semester elective that would fulfill our new core requirements that we've created at Lake City.
It is an alignment with the social studies core, but it would not take the place of another social
Right,
studies
but
class.
remember we said more of your electives have to be in a core subject area. So this would fulfill that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then intro to calculus is a calculus option if you don't want to do AP for your senior year.
Or dual credit, yes.
Or dual credit, correct. Okay. And then sociology 2 is a 1 semester class meant to be taken after the current 1 semester sociology 1.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I move to accept the course proposals for Applied General Science, History of Idaho and Pacific Northwest, Introduction to Calculus, and Sociology 2 as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you, Katie, for all your work and for all those great new opportunities. We've got coming up here, next Monday is our workshop on all things budget and survey. I'll be phoning in on that, and so Trustee Berkey will kind of facilitate and lead. So, and then on the 8th is our next regular meeting, and the 15th of April then will be our next workshop as well. So, if there's nothing else, then is there a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting?
I motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Was there a second? Oh, yeah, sorry.
I'll
I
second.
was all excited. Did you get it? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Good. Thank you, everyone.